Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining today. So today we are having our next session in the AZ-204 Developing Solutions for Microsoft Azure training. And today is our fifth session in this series. And today we are going to cover this module, which is Monitor, Troubleshoot, and Optimize Azure Solutions, where our speakers are going to cover various topics and various services and features which are provided by Azure to cover these aspects. Now we have been taking this training for for quite a while, and it's our fifth session. And there is a team behind behind these sessions who is helping us to bring all the all the slides and everything. Vipin, can you please switch the slide to the team? Yep. So this is our team behind the scene, and Vipin, who is our co-speaker for today as well. Ram Murthy, who is working, helping us to collate all the information that we are trying to present in these trainings. Ashish, myself, I have been doing trainings on AZ-400 and help, working with team to, hosting all these sessions. Shri is our cloud solution specialist from Microsoft, who is also helping us with the materials that we are building up. Sanjeev Panigrahi is our co-speaker as well for today's session, and he has been leading the Azure Developer Series. So he's been covering all the demo sessions for this particular series. Nitanshu is our another speaker who has helped us in AZ-400 and AZ-104 sessions in past, and he has been working and helping us to do all the all the compilation for all the content that we are trying to present over here. Kritika is our another core team member who help us with all the different logistics that we need to host these sessions. Arun is our Microsoft certified trainer and cloud architect who has been helping us to conduct various sessions. And in last few sessions he has done, he was the speaker for 204, and it in the upcoming sessions he will be again coming back with the excellent topic that we're going to cover in next upcoming sessions in this series. So this is our team behind the scene, and today's speaker today, as I said, Vipin will be our speaker for the sessions, who will be taking care of the first part of the session, which is theoretical and conceptual part, where Vipin will be exploring various services, configurations, which helps you all the monitoring and optimizing solutions in Azure. And then we have another speaker, Sanjeev, who is going to help us with the lab setup. That is second part of the session, where he will be doing the hands-on, where he will show the actual use cases of the concept shared by Vipin. And with these things, as you may know, we are also sharing vouchers to lucky few participants. There will be a quiz in the end, and you need to participate in the quiz. If you participate in the quiz, then there will be 6 selected winners who will be getting free exam vouchers. We'll be selecting those 6 winners in the next session, and we'll be announcing them. So in today's session, we'll be announcing the winners from the previous session. And for today's session, if you participate in the quiz, the winner will be selected in the next session, during the next session announcement. And one selected participant will be getting 1 copy of my book, that is Demystifying Azure DevOps Services. And one condition is that you must be participating in the quiz, as well as you must be registered on the Eventbrite. So we have already posted the registration link in Eventbrite link in the chat. So if you have not yet registered, and if you are joining it from our group or LinkedIn or somewhere else, and if you have not registered yet, then please go ahead and register. And as I said, winners will be announced in the next session. And with this, I will stop myself, and then I will invite Vipin to take care from here, where he will be going through the topic of the session today. Vipin, please go ahead.
Thank you, Ashish, for all this welcome message and exploring and telling everything about our community and for all the sessions that we are doing for all the people. That helps a lot of people to appear for the exam and learn this Azure cloud. Okay, thanks once again. And to begin with this particular things, I am Vipin Jha, and who will be taking care of the first part of the session today. Will help you making understanding some of the component for this AZ-204, which is for today's agenda. Okay, now before we start anything, let's discuss about the certification that we are going to do right now, that for which we are learning the today's concepts. Now, for all the Microsoft exams, they have some kind of a certification, and then once you appear for that certification, you receive some badge as well from the Microsoft. This is AZ-204, and the exam name is Developing Solutions for Microsoft Azure. We have total 8 sessions. We have divided, 7 sessions that we have split it for all the curriculum for this particular course. And this is our 5th session today. Okay, that helps you to appear for this particular exam. If you appear for this particular exam and if you succeed, you will receive one badge, and that badge is known as Microsoft Certified Azure Developer Associate. Now, to appear for this exam, you should know like how to prepare for the exam, what will be the key aspect that Microsoft is going to assess for all the participants. Microsoft has some of the key aspects, some of the key exam outline that you people should have as a tracker to prepare for the exam. The first part is develop Azure Compute Solutions, and you have an exam weightage 25 to 30% from these topics. We have already covered this particular part. If you have missed and if you want to go through with that, you can go to this Azure AG YouTube channel and watch the previous sessions. Then this is something called highest weightage, like 25 to 30%. So something very important with respect to the exam. Then we have a second section that is developed for Azure storage. That again has exam weightage for 15 to 20%. And this is also done in our previous session. Then the third part, that was our last session, that was implement Azure security. Okay, so how to secure your Azure environment with respect to the developer, with respect to the applications, okay, with respect to authentication of our applications and all, identity services for your applications and all. That again has a weightage of 20 to 25%. This is the second highest weightage for the exam outline. So something second most important topic if I say to prepare for the exam. Then we have a next part, that is monitor, troubleshoot, and optimize Azure solution. So it is actually divided in 2 parts. When we say monitor and troubleshooting is something of one part, and optimizing Azure solution is the second part. Okay, we'll be covering this particular topic today, and we'll discuss that what is the agenda for this particular topic in the upcoming slides. Okay. Then we have connect to and consume Azure services. So when you have some Azure services like any app services and all, and some third-party services, so how you connect that in Azure. Okay, this will be the topic for our upcoming sessions. We have 2 more sessions for AZ-204 that will be coming. If you are not yet registered, you can register, and so that you can appear for those sessions and prepare accordingly. Okay, now. Moving ahead, let me tell you something about this certification. Like, is it something like anyone can start appearing for the exam and preparing for that? Yes, anyone, but yes, if you go on some specific prerequisite format and if you follow that thing, that will help you make your path easy, make your learning path very easy for you people. This AZ-204 has some prerequisite, like people should have some kind of experience with respect to Azure. When we say with respect to Azure, they should have some hands-on experience on some of the Azure solution, like some IaaS solution, infrastructure as a service solution, or some PaaS solutions. They should be familiar with the Azure portal. If they have gone through some fundamental AZ-900 course, they would be familiar with these particular things. Okay, apart from this Azure knowledge, they should have experience with some of the programming languages like whether I'm not saying they should be an expert of that, they should have advanced knowledge in that, but at least they should have a beginner or intermediate level of knowledge so that they can correlate the things and they can work on cloud easily. So we expect they know C#, they should know either C# or JavaScript or Python, any one of that or all of that, that will help people. Generally, the developers have these basic things as their experience, but if you do not know, and if you are willing to be a developer and a cloud developer as well, I suggest they should learn these things side by side as well. Okay. Now, the next thing is that the next prerequisite for this particular certification is like you should have ability, you should know how to write a code. You should know how to write a code, as well as you should know that when you are writing a code for any application and thing, you know, like how you connect your applications, your APIs to some database and all. Okay, how you make the connection strings and all. You should have some basic knowledge and operational knowledge on some database. It can be SQL, NoSQL, or you should know some MongoDB, Cassandra, SQL Server. Okay, you should be familiar of these things. Plus, for any applications, if your application has something like which requires some kind of authentication, like in any enterprise, in any organization, you have some web-based application or any enterprise application, you always have some kind of authentication requirement for that. Okay, you should know for any code how you write a code so that your application will have authentication that will use any identity solutions. Plus, you should know how to write code for your authorizations as well. You should be familiar with the identity services. You should be familiar with the security principles. Okay. Plus, the last one is you should know some protocol. The very common protocol for nowadays, that is the HTML, because nowadays most of the applications, most of the things we use, we can develop based on the web-based application. So you should be familiar with the HTML. You should know what is HTTP protocol and the REST API interfaces. So these were the prerequisites that we expect that people should know with respect to AZ-204. Now, coming to the agenda for today's track, the today's session. As I said, today we are going to discuss the two major things, and we have divided those things into two parts. The first part that will be relating to optimizing Azure services and how using some of the caching solutions. So we'll discuss two things. One is Azure Cache for Redis. Okay, what is Azure Cache for Redis? Then second, we are going to discuss CDN service, that is Azure Content Delivery Network. Two of the most important thing and something very interesting that people should be using. Most of the organizations use this, the big enterprise use this services, who have big enterprises and spread their environment across the globe. Okay, they generally use these kind of services. Both are some kind of optimized solutions, or you can say it as a caching solution. So what is caching and how we are using it, we will be discussing very shortly. The second part that we'll be discussing is related to the monitoring. In this monitoring section, we'll discuss what is Azure Monitor, overview of Azure Monitor. We'll discuss that how you monitor your app environment, app services environment. What is application insight, how you can use it for analyzing and troubleshooting for your applications. So these are the two major broad categories, broad sections that we are going to cover. Now, to begin with the first part, that is the develop for Azure Cache for Redis. In this first section, we'll be discussing what is Azure Cache for Redis. Now, what is Azure Cache for Redis? So I hope that you would have heard about some kind of database. You would have heard about a generic word, a cache. Okay. Now, cache is what, and Azure Cache for Redis is what? It is actually an in-memory database technology. Now, in-memory database technology means what? Generally, for any other database, what happens? Your database is generally stored in the hard disk. Okay. When any application gather the information, gather the input from the hard disk, and that takes some time. Okay. Comparatively, if the same application gather the information from the memory is much faster. The RAM, the memory is much faster compared to the hard disk. Okay. Now, Azure Cache for Redis help in this particular say. So why the Redis is very popular nowadays? The popular nowadays because of this thing only. Okay, it is an in-memory database technology, or we call it as an in-memory data store technology. This is actually based on one software called as a Redis software. Okay, Redis software is actually a open source project. Okay, it's available as an open source project, but yes, the Redis also has something called as a commercial project, commercial product. We call it as a Redis Enterprise. When you go for Redis Enterprise, you have some additional features, some additional advantage. We are going to discuss those things in upcoming slide. What are those? Okay, but yes, you can use it as an open source project as well. Okay, what does it mean by the Redis actually? So Redis is simply a remote dictionary server. When we say what is Redis, so in full form, it's just like a remote. It's acronym for a remote dictionary server. Now, like in any other database, how it store the database in the how it store anything in the memory. So it's actually stored in a key value. Okay, so the syntax will be the key value data store, which runs in a memory. Okay, so whatever it will be storing like a key value data store that will be running in your memory. Then, as I said, the memory is much faster than your hard disk. Okay, so because of that, once you use this Redis, what will happen? It will increase the performance, it will increase the scalability and the performance of your application. The reason being, it is not getting the information, the data from the database which is in your hard disk, that it is getting those things from the memory. That makes it much faster and improve the performance of your applications. Now, where you can use it when we say Azure Cache for Redis, you can use Azure Cache for Redis for any application. Okay, whether that application reside in Azure or that application reside outside of Azure, you can use for both the scenarios. It is actually a distributed data. You can use it for your distributed data. You can use it for your content cache if you have to cache any content. You can also, there are some application which require some session persistence. Okay, so you can use it for session store. You can use it for message broker. Okay, so there are several options, the several requirements for which you can use this Azure Cache for Redis. Now, how we deploy that? So for deployment, this Azure Cache for Redis can be deployed as a standalone service as well. Okay. The alternative for that is either you can deploy it standalone or you can deploy it along with some other service like Azure Database Services, like your Azure SQL, or you can deploy it along with your Azure Cosmos DB. Okay, it can deploy with that as well. Now, in this Azure Cache for Redis, what type of data type it support? What type of data type it can have? Okay, so being a developer, I hope you would be very much familiar with these terms. What is string? What is list and all? So Azure Cache for Redis supports a string. When we say the string, it's a binary safe string. Any type of data, like any image, JPEG file, PNG file, or anything. But yes, the maximum length for that should be 512 MB. Okay. Then it also supports the list of string. Okay, that in Redis language we call it as a list. Okay, when we say the list, and list means what? It's a list of a string. When we say it means what? For example, we have product list A, product list B, product list C, or product list 1, product list 2, product list 3. So that we call, okay. So that is known as a list. Then is also support your sets. When we say the sets means your unsorted collections, okay, which is a unique non-repeat, right? And then we have a sorted sets. When we say the sets means the unsorted collections, and when we say the sorted sets, that means the sorted collection, that is a non-repeating collections of your string. It also supports the hashes. When we say hashes means a field value pair, okay, that you can have in any other programming language as well. Okay, it's the same thing. Then it also supports the data type that is a bitmaps or any hyperlocks. Now we discuss about what is Redis cache and what is the benefit for that and all. What is the architecture, like how Redis cache actually distribute the data to the cache? Okay, to distribute the data to the cache, it has three options, the three architecture solutions. One is a single node. Okay, when we say the single node, it is good for any development and testing purpose. Okay. Then it also has a multiple node or two node option. We suggest if you are using this Redis cache for a production environment, you should not use the single node option. You should go for the multiple node or the next one, which I'm going to discuss, that is the cluster node. Okay, so these are the three architecture that Redis cache use to distribute the data to the cache. You can go for single node. You can go for the multiple node. When we go for the multiple node, it means it will have the replication, it will have the failover. Okay, in single node, you do not have that benefit. And that is the reason we do not suggest the single node option for production environment. It is highly recommended only for dev test purpose. Okay, then you have a clustered. Okay, the third one. Now, for example, let's suppose you have deployed this Redis cache in your environment and you want to connect that Redis cache from your client API. Okay, how you will be connecting that? For that, you require few of the information, few of the things that help you to connect that. What you need the host name. Okay, the host name of your Redis cache. You need the port. You also need the access key. Access key is just like a key that helps like a passphrase for connecting that. How you will be getting this information? The moment you deploy Redis cache in your Azure, okay, you can see that in Azure portal after deployment. And so once you see that and you open this Azure Redis cache, in the overview section of that service, on the right hand side, you will see this option called host name. So this is the host name that you can use. Then you see the option called keys as well. Okay, either you can click on this hyperlink show key and you can use that, or on the same blade on the left hand side under setting option, you will see the option called access keys. Okay, once you click on this access keys, okay, it will show you the primary key and secondary key. You can use either of this key to connect your Redis cache. This Redis cache available in different tiers in Azure. Okay. Generally, it is in basic, standard, and premium. But yes, if you go on this Azure portal, in that particular case, you will see there are premium as well as we have enterprise and enterprise flash version as well. So based on your corporate need, based on the environment, your environment need, you can choose which is the best suited for your organization. Okay, let me tell you a few of the key differences between that. The first one is the basic one. Okay, that will have a single node. Okay, that will have a single node, and this will be again suggested only for the development purpose or test purpose, not recommended for any production environment. For production environment, we suggest you should choose the minimum of standard tier. Okay, minimum of the standard tier. Okay, if you can go for the premium or enterprise, that is good, but the minimum of the standard tier is the recommended approach. Okay, now why it is so? This basic Redis cache tier doesn't have any availability, means it doesn't have any SLA on that. The standard one will have a 99.9% of SSLA. Okay, plus it have minimum of 2 node. If you go for the premium one, in that case, it support all the things that you have in the standard, Plus it has few more things. When we say few more things, it supports the snapshot, it supports the backup, it supports the cluster thing as well. Okay. Plus the another difference between standard, basic and premium is what? Your standard also has a replication. Okay, because it has a two nodes, so the primary node will replicate to the secondary node and it can fail over in case of any failure. Right? Then, but that replication is so within the data centers. Now, if you go for this premium one, that has a zone redundancy as well. Okay, that has a zone redundancy as well. So within Azure, you can have a zone availability zone level redundancy on this particular tier. Plus, the next thing is that you get in the premium one, it supports a virtual network. Means you can specify that this service is available to any specific virtual network. So it will give you additional layer of security. Right. Then after premium, you have a next level, which is your enterprise and enterprise flash. Enterprise and enterprise flash have few things as a similar. Yes, definitely it has all the things that we are getting in the premium plus few additional things. The one additional thing is like the availability option. It has 99.999% of availability guarantee. Plus your enterprise support the geo application. Okay, and that is in an active mode. Your enterprise flash also supports the geo application. The difference between enterprise and enterprise flash is what? One is the type of non-volatile storage that you are using. Okay, the another is the storage, the memory size that you are getting. Okay, you will have the highest memory space available in enterprise flash. So this is a quick short tabular comparison between these Azure Redis cache tier. Based on the corporate need, based on your organization need, you can use anything, any specific tier that is the best suited for your organization. With all this, we will be moving to the next section for today. Okay, that the next section for today is developing storage on CDN. What is CDN? Okay, something very interesting with respect to the network, with respect to caching and all. Now, before we discuss what is CDN or a content delivery network, let me tell you one word which most of you would be hearing very regularly, and you would be definitely familiar with that. A generic word which is a caching. Okay, like you would have heard this word cache or caching, right? What is caching actually? So, for example, you have web browser, you would be using Microsoft Edge, Chrome, or any browser. You have a browser cache, you have application cache. So there caching is used at several places. The most common type of caching is generally a web browser caching. Okay, now what is caching? Okay, I'm not telling anything about the seeding right now. I'm simply telling you the generic word, the caching. What is a caching? So caching is what it is actually a process of storing data locally. Okay, for example, from a browser, you have opened some website that has cached some static content for that website. And now what will happen in that case? Next time onward, when you open that website or that application again, what will happen? Your future request, the future access for that application will be much faster, will be much quicker in comparatively. Okay, you will be accessing that thing very quickly. Now, what other thing will happen in that case? The other thing will have any content which is cached locally. Okay, for those content, those things from client to the server. Okay, you will avoid the trips, avoid the connection, avoid the round trip for that particular things. Okay, and because your content is saved locally, okay, you will be accessing that locally, and it will save your time. It will save your resources as well. When we save your time, because content is cached locally, so we are getting those things very quickly. And because content is cached locally, it will save your bandwidth as well. Okay, in your future requests. So these are some of the common terminologies that we discuss about the caching. What is caching? With this, now let's move to what is content delivery network. In any cloud, whether you use Microsoft Cloud or any other cloud, this is a very popular thing nowadays. Now, what is content delivery network? It is again a solution for caching. All right. Now, the difference between this caching and the other caching that we discussed in the previous slide is what? In short, we call it as a CDN. Otherwise, the full form is a content delivery network. Okay. CDN is used. So in this, what will happen? Any content which is cached, that is not cached locally. There will be a dedicated server for that. Okay. And that server will be used for caching some content. Means I have some application, some web server or any other service. Okay. And between my user and my original server, there will be additional server I will be keeping, and that server is generally known as an edge server. This edge server will be used for caching the content. Okay. And because content is not cached locally, like when I use my web browser in my machine, in my laptop, and I use a browser cache, what happened? That content is saved locally in my laptop. Okay. Here in this case, that content is not saved locally. The content is saved on that edge server. Because of that, what will happen? That content can be shared between the user. The cache content can be shared between the user. For example, one file which is requested by one user and cached to the edge server, later on the same cache can be used by the other user as well. Okay. What will happen? What other thing will happen in this case? Again, it will decrease the number of requests, sending to the original server. Okay. Then what we can have there, like if it's okay, so it will decrease the number of count to the server. And then moving ahead to discuss something more about this content delivery network. CDN is actually a global CDN solutions. It is available with the Microsoft, and there are some other partners as well who help in this particular thing. You can deploy the CDN in Azure or in other locations as well. With Azure CDN, what you can cache actually. So you can cache the object from your storage. If you have storage account in Azure, and in that storage account you have some blob storage, so you can store your Azure blob storage. You have some web application. Your web application may be in Azure, or it can be anywhere outside this Azure as well. Okay, but yes, it must be publicly accessible web server, so you can cache that particular thing. Okay, and use this Azure CDN will use the closest point of presence server. So point of presence server is what? This is your edge server where the content will be cached. Okay, generally it is for the static content, but yes, if you have some dynamic content for your dynamic site, you can use the dynamic site acceleration for those content as well. Now, whatever we discuss about this content delivery network, let's see like how this content delivery network actually works. Okay, let's see this with this diagram. For example, I have one user. Okay, he tried to access one website, and how your CDN will work? You create one CDN service in Azure. You deploy some Cdn profile, then within the Cdn profile, you have to configure some endpoint. So your endpoint will be your actual web server in the background. Okay. Now, for example, we have created one Cdn profile and we have this endpoint. Okay, and this is the endpoint we have created, the Cdn endpoint. Okay, like HTTP demo Cdn endpoint Azure Edge.net. Okay, now once this user will access this particular thing, what will happen? It will not directly connect to the original server, okay, in first instance, because we have CDN implemented. If we have implemented CDN, what will happen? It will go to the point of presence server, or you can call it as edge server as well. Now, with this edge server, okay, it will check whether this user has requested this thing first time or it has requested earlier as well. If this point of presence server has that thing as saved as a cache, saved in a cache, okay, it will revert back to the user. Because it is for a very first time, this point of presence server will go to the origin server. Okay, this is my origin server. And then what will happen? It will, once it has, okay, it will cache the content to the POP and then it will revert to the user. Okay, so user will receive this particular thing. Now, let's suppose later on I have some other user and that particular user is trying to access the same thing, demo CDN endpoint Azure Edge.net. In this case, what will happen? Because the user one has already accessed this particular thing and this point of presence server has cached that content. Okay, so next time when any other user will try to access the same thing, it will not go to the origin server. It will receive the response from the POP server as well. Okay, and till when this POP server will keep this content, that will actually depend on the TTL, the time to leave that we have configured. Okay, you can customize that, you can configure that. The default time is generally 7 days. So this is a flow how your CDN works. Okay, in any environment, whether it's Azure Cloud or any CDN or service, in everywhere, this is the flow, this is the mechanism how CDN actually works. Now, with this, let's discuss some more benefit about your Azure CDN. Okay, when we say the some more benefit, what benefit we have, why we should implement that? Okay, so the benefit are if you implement this particular thing, if you implement this CDN, you will have a benefit like you will have a better performance for an application. In which scenario you will have the better performance whenever you have some users to load some content. Okay, from different places across the globe, they will be accessing some content. You can use this thing. Okay, the user will experience the better performance loading the content from your applications. Okay, plus there are some scenarios when you have some kind of some product launch, you have a lot of people watching an event. Okay, 10,000s of people or 50,000s of people or lakhs of people are watching some event. Okay, in those situations as well, you can use this CDN. So any such it can handle any high load and all the people, whether the live event is happening from the US and the people are watching it or accessing it across the world, they will have the same experience. They will not feel any kind of latency. Okay, the reason being at every different places you have some kind of point of presence server and the content will be cached to the nearest POP server and the user will be accessing it from there. The next benefit will be there will be a less traffic which will be sent to the original server. Okay, why? Because you have some POP server in between. So any traffic is coming there and the POP server has the cache will revert to the user. So these are some of the common benefit that Azure CDN provide to the customer and customer should utilize those benefit by deploying this Azure CDN solution if they need. Then in Azure, you have different CDN products. Okay, when we say the different CDN product, we have Azure CDN from Microsoft. You can use that. You can use Azure CDN from Akamai. You can use Azure CDN from Verizon. That is the standard version, or you can use Azure CDN Premium from Verizon. So you can go on Azure portal and based on different products, provide different benefits, different features. Okay, and based on your business need, based on the pricing and the cost feature that your organization approves. Okay, you can choose the respective one for your organizations. Okay. Then moving ahead in Azure, there is something called as a caching rule. Okay. We discussed about caching, we discussed about what is CDN, we discussed how CDN will work, okay, and the whole mechanism, the whole solution actually depend on the caching, like something is being cached, okay, somewhere, whether locally or to the remote server, and then it is working, okay. Now there are some caching rule that you can configure, you can customize based on your need. So there are two types of caching rule actually which are there. One is known as a global caching rule and the second is known as a custom caching rule. Okay, so one thing is you have a default caching behavior that is configured on your original web server, original application. Okay, and then you can configure these two caching rule on your CDN. One is a global caching rule, another is a custom caching rule. Now, with this respect to global caching rule, you can configure one caching rule for each endpoint in your CDN profile. So if you have CDN profile configured, then you configure some endpoint. For every endpoint, you can create one global caching rule. Okay, then if you have to create some multiple caching rules, so in that case, you can create the custom caching rule. You can create one or more caching rule for each of your endpoint in the CDN profile. Okay. Now, what will happen? Okay, when you have these caching rules, okay, for that there are some behavior settings. Okay, what is the behavior settings? So there are three types of behavior setting that we can configure. One is a bypass cache, the another is the override, and third one is a set if missing. For example, if you have configured the bypass cache, okay, in that case, what will happen? If there is any origin provided cache is there, it will ignore that. It will bypass that. Okay, it will not cache that. Second is an override. If I have configured the caching behavior as an override, in this case, what will happen? In this particular case, what will happen? It will override any caching which is configured at the origin level, and it will use the caching setting which we have specifically mentioned that. All right, so it will override the previous one and it will configure it which we have specified. Then we have a third option of caching behavior that we can configure, that is set if missing. When we say set if missing, what does it mean? Set if missing means it will first check if there is any origin provided caching behavior exists. If it exists, it will use that. If there is no origin provided caching behavior, then whatever we are providing, we are creating here, it will use that particular thing. It will set that caching setting. Now, when you have global rule, you have custom rule. In that particular case, there is a question comes in the mind. We have the multiple rules, the multiple caching rule. Finally, what rule will take precedence? What will be the precedence order in that particular case? So the precedence order is what? Your global caching rule will take the precedence of your any default caching behavior that you have configured. Okay, if your CDN have any default caching behavior, your global caching rule will take precedence and will override that. Then if you have configured any custom caching rule, it will take precedence and it will override your global caching rule as well. So finally the custom rule will take precedence. So this is how your what will be the processing, what will be the precedence of your caching rule in CDN. Then how you actually create this caching rule? It's very simple. Once you create Cdn profile and you go to Cdn profile endpoints, and you will see the option called rule engine. You will have option for creating a rule. You will see the one global rule. You can create only one. Then any other rule that you create, that is known as the custom rule. You can define the conditions that we discussed at if missing. You can bypass or override. Okay, the days duration and all. Plus in custom, you also have option to set some condition. Okay, there are several conditions you can explore. For example, you can set some operator, you can set some value, like if it is from device, desktop, or if it is mobile. Okay, for different caching rule for different devices or different browser or different things, you can configure. Okay, so there are a lot of things to customize and configure here. Based on your need, based on your business requirement, you can configure that particular things. So this is all about the Azure CDN that we have discussed as of now. And with this slide, we are covering the first part of the caching and optimizing the solution, Azure solutions. Now, in our next sections, what we are going to discuss, our next sections will be related to the next part of today's agenda, and that will be related to the Azure monitoring and logging solutions. Okay. In these sections, what we are going to discuss, the very first thing what we are going to discuss is Azure Monitor. Okay, what is Azure Monitor? So Azure Monitor is a service that helps you collecting, combining, analyzing the data from the different sources. Okay, what type of data? Okay, generally the logs, generally the events and the metrics. Okay, so it helps you collecting all those things, combining, and for analyzing, visualizing. Okay, from different sources. We'll be discussing that what type of data, what type of analysis in upcoming slide. It also helps you to detect, okay, if there is any issue, if there is, it also helps you to diagnose those issues, and it helps you detecting and diagnosing those issues across your applications. Okay. And along with the application, it also helps you detecting diagnosis with their dependencies as well. For example, you have some application and that has some dependencies, that has a mix of microservices or some dependency on the database, some related services. So you can see those dependencies as well. You can diagnose and troubleshoot the issue with that as well with the help of Azure Monitor. Okay, with this thing, you need to use another service that is known as the application insight. We'll see what is application insight as well. Then you can also use Azure Monitor for correlating your infrastructure issues. Okay, not only with the application, you can also use it for your infrastructure issues, that is for your VM, your container. Okay. Then with the help of log analytics, so log analytics is what? Log analytics is just like your storage, like you have a storage account. You can use log analytics where your logs will be stored. Okay, that you can use for analyzing your monitor data. Okay, you can drill down for your monitoring data with the log analytics. Plus, with the help of Azure Monitor, you can set some alerts, and with the help of alert, you can use some automated actions as well. Okay, what is alert? How you automate that? We'll be discussing that very shortly. So alert are just simply like when some event, some incident happen, it generates some alert, and based on that alert, it can take some necessary action as well. We are going to discuss very shortly what is alert in detail. Then for management purpose or for visualization, you can use Azure Dashboard, Azure Workbook, Azure Views. There are several options that you can use for looking your performance and other things in some graph, some chart. Okay, and that helps you to visualizing your environment. Okay, so Azure Monitor can be used for that purpose as well. Now, with Azure Monitor, what type of data are actually collected? So in a broad categories, the data which is collected by the Azure Monitor are categorized in two parts. One we call it as a matrix, and other we call it as a logs. Okay, for anything, for any source, from any source that it will be collecting, generally it is categorized in two parts. One is a metric. Matrix is what? That is a numerical value. Okay. For example, CPU is greater than 80%, memory is 75%. Okay. So whenever you have some numerical value, okay, some performance or anything which can be specified in some numerical denominations, in that particular say, we say it is known as a matrix. Okay. Then we have a logs. So log can be like event log, application log, or any information, any record. Okay, so that is known as a logs. Any activity log. So all those things are known as a logs. Any other types, any other type of records are known as a logs actually. Okay, so Azure Monitor collect both of these types of logs, both of these types of data. One is matrix, that is the numerical data values. Other is the logs, which is your records. Now, if you have this thing called as a matrix within Azure Monitor, you will see the matrix explorer, and you can explore all those things. And within Azure Monitor, you will see something called as a logs, and you can explore that using the log analytics. So once you will explore this, and Sanjeev will show you the demo, you will see all those things in the practical as well. Now we have seen what type of data it is collecting. Now we'll see that from where this Azure Monitor actually collected data. Okay, whether it is a matrix or it is a log. What are the sources? What are the components? What are the sources from where it actually collected data? So Azure Monitor can collect the data from your application, from your app services. Okay, it can also collect the data from your operating system. Okay, your cached operating system, your virtual machines. If you have hosted any application on the VM as an IaaS service, and that has any Windows or Linux or VM, okay, it can gather the data from operating system as well. Azure Monitor can collect the data from any Azure resource as well. Any other services, any other resource that you have deployed in Azure, for example, storage, any application, CDN, any different services. Okay, so it generally support almost all the Azure resources. Okay, and you can use Azure Monitor to collect the data from those resources as well. Plus, yeah, if you are working on Azure, you would be definitely familiar that there is something called as a subscription. Without having an active subscription, you cannot deploy any service, which is your billing model. So Azure Monitor can collect the data from the subscription as well. Means you can use Azure Monitor for monitoring your subscription as well. Okay. And with the subscription, you can also use Azure Monitor to collect tenant level data. If you want to monitor a tenant, whenever you have your Azure account, you have one tenant as well. You can create a different directory and different tenant as well within the same. Okay, so you can use Azure Monitor to monitor your tenant as well. Now, the previous two, three slides that we have discussed. Okay, this is a compilation of all those things that we have discussed in the previous slides. Okay, now if you see this particular slide, okay, this tells like this is Azure Monitor, which can collect the data from these sources. Okay, when we say these sources, like your application, operating system, Azure resource, subscription, tenant, custom sources. When you say the custom source, if you have any custom deployed application or your on-prem environments as well. Okay, then your SCOM server and all, so you can use it, you can integrate it there as well. So those are known as the custom sources. Then from these sources, it may collect either matrix or it may collect either log. Once this Azure Monitor has collected these metrics and logs, okay, then you can use these are the different things what you can do post that. Okay, you can have either insight. You can have either insight of your application using the application insight. You can have the insight of application. You can have the insight of your container. You can have the insight of your VM. Okay, when you say the insight means you can see what's happening inside that for a troubleshooting purpose, for diagnosing and all. Okay. Then you can also use the visualize. When we say the visualize, we have several options for visualizing our metrics and logs, like you can use dashboards, you can use views, Power BI, workbook. Okay, you can see that graph, charts, and representations. Okay, for your views, or you can show it to management or for any purpose. Okay. Then if you want to analyze these things, we have log analytics and we have metrics, metric analysis. If it is a metric, you will use the metric analysis. If you have logs, you will use the log analytics to analyze that. Okay. If you want to take some action, or we call it as a respond, okay, if this metric happen, if you receive this metric or if you receive this log, you want to take some action, you want to generate some alert, or you want to take some automated action. Okay, so we call it as a respond. So you can use alert and auto scale for that. Okay, you can use runbook for automation, you can use alert for taking some actions. Okay, then you can also integrate your Azure Monitor with the logic apps. Okay, when we say the logic apps or export API means what? Logic apps are actually flow, like you have decided some condition, if this happen, take some, it's an easy solution to, for example, I have one event generated, one metric happened, one log happened, and based on that, send an email to someone or do some activity, create some storage account or auto scale something. Okay, so it's a flow based on the flow chart. You can, it's a flow chart based solution. Once the logic is met, once a condition is met, take some necessary actions. Okay, simplified, doesn't require any coding experience and all. It's a simplified solution for that. So you can use, this is a consolidation of all those things related to Azure Monitor. Now, moving ahead with this, let's discuss this alert now that we were discussing in the previous slide. What is this alert actually? So alert is what? It is something which is proactively, it will notify when some condition is met. Okay, when we say proactively notify when some condition is met or some condition is found in your monitoring data. So whatever data is monitored from any resources, for example, for an application, application is responding, application is not responding, application is performing and not, whatever the criteria you have defined, you define the criteria, you define some target. Target means your target can be your application, target can be your VM or any Azure resource or any Azure service. Okay, so on that target, you define some criteria, and once that criteria is done, okay, it will do some action. And what action it will do, that will be discussing in the action group. So you create some action group, and based on that, whatever the monitoring condition is done, it will happen that. So alert will do what? It will identify and address. So why we should configure the alert? So if you configure this, let's suppose we are monitoring, but we have not specified any alert. Okay, so in that case, it will be a manual job. You have the monitoring, but once something will happen, some incident will happen, something will go down, and then if someone will report you manually, and you will go for that. If you use alert, what will happen? Before a user will come to know, a system will identify that, and you can specify the alert to address those issues as well. Okay. And when you say address those issues, you can take some action. You can notify to the admin, notify to any respective team who will resolve that issue, or you can take some automated action as well, like restart your VM, restart your application, or upscale that or downscale that particular thing, any specific thing. Okay. Now, when we say the alert, okay, in that case, how your alert work? To make your alert work, you need to create alert rule. Okay, and to create an alert rule, we have some key attributes for that you need to specify at the time of your alert rule creation. Okay, and what you need to specify? You need to specify the target. When we say you need to specify the target, in that particular case, your target can be your application, any Azure service. Your target can be your VM, storage account, skill set, anything. So target means to what you want to monitor. It is actually scope where your signal will be alerting. Okay, It can be any Azure resource. And then you have to specify the signal. The signal means what? Here you specify whether to use a metric or the activity log or application insight. Okay, what will be the signal? Then you specify the criteria. Criteria is what criteria it will have. Like memory is greater than this, CPU is greater than this, is it responding or not responding? So any criteria you have to specify there. Then you specify the name of your rule and the description, any clarified description for, so if you go back and see that you can understand that, okay, we created this rule for this one. Any meaningful name and meaningful description should be there. Then you can also specify the severity, and we have 5 severity starting from 0, which is critical, and to the 4 is a verbose, 0 critical, 1 error, 2 warning, 3 information, 4 verbose. So you can specify that if this kind of alert happen, we want to specify, we want to nominate it like a critical, or we want to specify it as a warning or information. So based on your situation, based on the what alert you are alert rule you are clarifying and creating there, okay, you can define that. It depends on the business to business, organization to organization, what type of severity they want to specify to that one. Then you specify the action that, okay, finally you need to specify the action. Action means so what? Action means, okay, either restart this application, upscale this application, notify to the admin, or any specific thing. Now, if you want to take any action, for that, you also need to create an action group. Okay, when we say the action group is what? So action group is actually a collection of notification preferences. Okay, means how we want to notify. We can notify on the email, we can notify on the phone, we can notify using some push notification. So whatever is the notification preference you want to configure, you define all those notifications using this action group. Okay, so you can use define all those things in this action group. Your Azure Monitor, Service Health, both service use action groups to notify the admin, notify to the admin. Okay, whenever any alert will be triggered. Now, when you create an action group, you can use the same action group for multiple requirements as well. Okay. Sorry. Oh. You can in a one subscription. Let's suppose you have one subscription in your organization. So one subscription can support up to 2000 action group. Okay, if we have a requirement from, and 2000 action group is something good enough for any organization. But yes, if you need more, you need to raise this request to the Microsoft or to buy a different subscription to increase that particular count. Now, once you create an action group, within that action group, you have an option for an available action. What action you want? Okay, so you can define action like sending an email, sending an SMS to the admin, to a specific developer, to any specific team, to management. Okay, or you can generate some post notification. You can also generate some voice call to any specific number. Okay, you have some helpdesk number or anything, any specific command center team or any number, you can raise a call to that particular number as well. Okay, then you can also create some function. So action can also be like a create and call some function and trigger some logic app. Okay, so whatever functions you have previously created, it will execute that. Then you can also notify to a webhook, or if you can also integrate your Azure Monitor with the ITSM. Okay, then in that case, what will happen? It will automatically generate some ITSM ticket. Okay, and will be sent to a respective team on that. Apart from that, the last thing that you can do with this as available action is what? You can configure a runbook. And runbook is what? You use the runbook for any such automation action that you want to do. For example, restarting app, upscaling the service and all. Okay, so there are several things. You can write any code in runbook and automate that particular thing. Then whenever alert is created or whenever alert is triggered some action, okay, what will happen? Your alert generally has the 3 state. When a new alert is triggered, it has a new state. Okay. Post that, once some developer or admin who will be working on that will look on that and he acknowledges that, he or she acknowledges that the state is changed to the acknowledged. And let's suppose you have worked on those case and resolve the issue, you can change it to the closed status. So this generally has a 3 state: new, acknowledged, and the closed one. So this was all about the Azure Monitor. Now, moving ahead to the same section, there is something called as an application insight. For the developer perspective, application insight is something very interesting and very important. Okay, why? Because it gives you a lot of things that helps you to look the insights for your applications as well. Okay, using this application insight, what you can do, you can monitor the performance for your applications. Okay, you can also gather the informations related to performance, related to your errors, even the exceptions in the applications. Okay, if there is anything that causing the problem for an application, you can diagnose that cause as well. Okay, if you have some release pipeline for an application, you can monitor that as well with the help of this application insight. Okay, and it also helps you for an entire development life cycle. Right now, what actually this application insight monitor? So let's discuss this thing in more detail. So it can help you for your request rate, the response time, the failure rates. Okay, you can monitor all those things using this. Okay, it can also help you monitoring the dependency rates. Okay, response times for your applications. Okay, if there is any external service which are slowing down your application, okay, it is depending on that, so it will help you to monitor for that thing as well. Then helps you for the exceptions. Okay, except when we say the exceptions for any for server side or for the browser side, it helps you for monitoring those things as well. And for example, if you want to see the page view or the load performance, that how that is working, what is the load performance and the page view, you can see that as well using the application insight. Then if you have any AJAX call, okay, you can monitor that as well. If you want to monitor the session count or user session count, application insight help you monitoring that thing as well. With respect to that, if you monitor any performance counter like your CPU memory performance, so you can help this application insight will help you monitoring those performance counters as well. If you have something for your Docker or containers in Azure, it will help diagnosing those things. Plus, if you want to diagnose some custom logs or diagnose some trace logs, it will help you on those situations as well. Now, with application insight is really something very interesting for the developer, but how it will work. If you want to use this application insight, what you need to do, you need to first set up this application insight in this Azure portal. Once your application insight is configured there, then you need to install one instrumentation package in your application. Okay, once you have installed this instrumentation package in an application, then this application insight will monitor your application and will send the log data for your application to the log analytic workspace. And then you can use this log analytic workspace to look for any insight of your application. Then within this, you have something called as a application map. Okay. Now, once you deploy your application insight, you will see something called as application map. When you have several microservices, several components, several dependencies of your application, sometimes it's very difficult that where the issue is there. So application map will give you a graphical view as well as it shows you all the components, the dependencies. Okay, you can use this graphical map which helps you for looking and spot the performance for your failures across the component. Then there is something called as availability test. So you can use this availability test for some kind of test for your application. For example, you can use it for checking the responsiveness and the availability for any website. Okay. In this case, what will happen? Availability insight will send the web request to your application in a regular interval. Okay, and it will be sending it from around the world. Okay, it can receive the request or based on that, whether it is getting the response or not, whether it is responding slow or not, it will tell you. So availability test will help you the slowness and the responsiveness for your application. It used any it is actually working for your HTTP and HTTPS endpoint only. Okay, which is accessible over the public internet. With this availability test, you have the three types of tests that you can use. One is a URL ping test. Then second is a multi-step website test, and the third is the custom trackability set. So URL ping test is what it is, simply actually a test that just as the name says, the ping test, it checks the response for your application. But yes, this doesn't use the ICMP. Okay, yes, it is called as a ping test, but this ping doesn't use the ICMP protocol. It actually uses the HTTP protocol instead. Okay, then if you have a multi-step web test, when we say the multi-step web test, you use this multi-step web test whenever you want. For example, I have some application and I want to record a sequence of my web request. Okay, so you can check the sequence of web request using this multi-step web test. Then apart from that, if you have some custom track availability, you can use that by configuring it there. Okay, how you do that? It's simple. In your portal, once you have your applications, okay, in the application blade, you will see this option called availability, and then you will see the option called add test. Okay, and once you click on the test, you have the option for, okay, what type of test you want to configure, ping test or multi-site test, and configure it here. So with this, we are done with the conceptual part for today. Okay, and with this, we'll be taking a short break, and post break we will be having a demo session. So post break, we have Sanjeev who will help you learning that demos of this CDN and for this application insight that we have discussed. We have some planned lab for today. Okay, so let's have a short 10 minutes of coffee break from now, and with this we'll come back in post 10 minutes and then we'll continue the session.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Vipin. Thanks for the session. Yeah, so as Vipin said, we'll go for a quick 10 minutes break, and then Sanjeev will be coming back with the demo session where he will be demonstrating all the concept as a lab component where you will be able to relate those things as a developer. So, be here and just come back after 10 minutes, after having your coffee. Okay, so we'll go for that. Vipin, you can go ahead and start the clock, maybe. Yeah. Thank you. Okay.
Welcome back.
Yeah, please go ahead. Sunny.
Okay. So welcome back everyone, and I hope you all have enjoyed your coffee break. And now let me tell you that what we have in the demo for today. Ashish, you want to say something before that? You're saying?
No, I was just inviting you to close the break. Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, so now we have the next thing, that is our demo, and in this demo what we are going to see, we have two major exercises, two major demo for today. The first part is related to the Azure Content Delivery Network. In this we'll create one Azure resource, we'll configure the CDN, we'll configure the endpoint, we have some static web content, and we'll see that how you use this CDN endpoint, and we'll reach out to that backend Trojan server. Okay, then the second part of the lab is related to the monitoring section, where we will again create one resource that could be can be anything like Azure web app or something like that, and then we will monitor that web application using the application insight. As I have already told you people, like application insight is something very interesting and good tool for the developer. So you will see that how you can use this application insight, and you can see the insight of your application using this particular service. So with this, let me welcome Sanjeev Panikri, who is my co-speaker for today, and will help you to showing this lab demo. Sanjeev, over to you now.
Hi, thank you, Vipin, for inviting me for this exciting session. And thank you as well for giving us the very good overall brief information about the CDN and the application insight and the Redis cache. Thank you, Ashish, for organizing this 204 series. Now I will go ahead with first I will go ahead with the application insight, then I will go ahead with the CDN. So let me share my screen. Yeah. I think Ashish, can you confirm if my screen is visible?
Yes, Sanjeev.
Yeah, thank you. So before moving ahead, application as Vipin mentioned, application insight is is an application monitoring tool. We have a lot of application monitoring tool in the market from the Azure perspective. This is one of the monitoring tool they have provided. So in this lab session, what we will do, we will create an web application locally in our Visual Studio. I will be taking a .NET web application. You can take any web application in Java or Python or any language, but for timing, I am taking a .NET application. And then we will integrate App Insight into that, and we will see how we can tweak a little bit of App Insight and how we can use it intelligently. So before moving ahead, let me first just create a web application. So I'm just going to create a web application of the sample web application provided by the Visual Studio. So let me just create it. Yeah, so this is just created and this web application provides us, this is an web API or REST API you can say. So this gives us an web app where it exposes one API called with the forecast, and when we make a get call, it gives us the forecast of some cities and it gives us a JSON data. So if I run this, I will see I have not added anything. It's a sample application template provided by the Visual Studio itself. So just if I will run it, this is how it gives us the data. So let's now we will go ahead and create an application insight. I'm going ahead and create an application insight. Let me create AI AZ-204 resource group. So I'm creating a new resource group. Let's name it weather forecast. And let's keep the other things default as it is. So if we'll go ahead, let's go ahead and create it. Yeah, so the deployment is in progress. It's a very easy to add the app insight into any web application. So you just go ahead and each app insight is known by their instrumentation key. So you have to take the instrumentation key and you have to put it in your application configuration, and you read it and then you inject it to your application configuration. So what we'll go ahead and do, I will keep it inside my app setting. So the app settings will be like this. I will put it like application insights. And inside this, I can do one thing. I can just write instrumentation key, and I will put the key over here. So my application is connected, will be connected to this this instrumentation key. It's kind of, you can say it's a connection string, and this my application inside instance is recognized by this key to the outside world. So and what I need to do, I need to add one of the NuGet. So you have to go ahead and have to type Microsoft Application Insight.asp.NET Core. Because I am using a ASP.NET Core application, I'm going to add this one to my NuGet package. So I think Microsoft has good documentation available for each and every language, like how to deal with Java, how to deal with Python. So they have very good documentation. You can follow that, and most of the application will be following the same path. I think the terminologies will be different. So what we can do, just we need to install this one. Yeah. So now I have to go to the startup and say that I will be adding services dot add application insight telemetry. So this is all you need to do to monitor any of your application. So let's go ahead and check if it works out or not. If it is not, then we'll see what is the problem. Okay, so we have make a hit to the local application. So let's go ahead and check if our the forecast AI did got any transaction or not. It takes a little bit of time. Let's see. So in the performance tab, it gives you how many requests you got, how many which URL you hit. All these information you got get into the in the performance tab. It normally takes a little bit of time to the performance tab. So application insight has another another thing called logs, where you can use something like of SQL, where you can just select, you can just do the select, and you can do the filtering query. So if you want to write your query, it is a language called KQL is there, which is called Coaster Query Language. So you need to just query your there are syntaxes like if you want to search any request, if you want to search any traces, you can search it over here like this. So traces, and you can put some where clause, and you can put some aggregate function. So we are searching for request. Let's see if we get any request. Yeah, we already got the request like get with the forecast. This the performance tab refreshed little bit. It takes around 2 to 3 minutes to get refreshed, but in the log database, you can as soon as you hit the API, you can get the data over here. So let's see. Yeah, I think we got the data. So when you select any of your operation, it gives you how many counts are there, and it will ask if you want to drill into any of your operation. Just click on this one, and you can go ahead and check how. This was a sample operation, so that's why it doesn't include like if you have any database call or if you have any service bus integration. All these things are not available here, but application insight tracks everything whenever it gives you the transaction details. So all your application transaction is recognized by an operation ID, which you can consider it as a correlation ID, which is a GUID, and it is unique for all your transactions. So your every application insights transaction would be can be monitored by this one. So this is the basic application insight integration you can do. So even if you publish this one, you can just publish it into a app service plan. Then you can just access it via the URL. Then also it will be tracking your application. So if you can track it locally, it is trackable from any of the URLs where it is deployed. As long as this is tagged with this instrumentation key, it will be publishing all the events to the application insight. So how application insight tracks? So actually, application insight monitors two two types of telemetry. One is your request telemetry, one is your dependency telemetry. So what happens when a request comes in, application insight tracks the incoming request as in request telemetry. So let's say what happens, I'm trying to make a call as we are into the microservice world. So what will happen? I will be calling from one microservice to another microservice either through an HTTP client or through an streaming services provided by Kafka or the event-driven application, whichever you take. So what happens when you make an external HTTP call, it creates a dependency telemetry. So I will show you. I have a sample application. I can show you how it looks like. So you can modify the application insight telemetry as well by initializing the iTelemetry initializer. In few seconds, I will show you. I have a sample application called Sample Web API. So what it does, it has exposed. This is a sample application where in the weather forecast controller, I have a get operation. From here, I am just making a call to another URL. So what I have done, I have created a telemetry initializer called sample telemetry initializer, and this is being inherited from the interface called iTelemetry initializer. So this iTelemetry initializer is given by your Microsoft App Insight Telemetry. So what you can do inside, and this provides a method called or the function called initialize, and this initialized will be tracking of all your telemetry type, whether it's a metric telemetry type, whether it's a request telemetry, or whether it's a dependency telemetry. So what I am doing, I am trying to do some injection that if it's a request telemetry, I would be changing the name, or I would be just tracking the, I'll be setting up the role name or something like that. So that's what I am doing over here. So if you, I have the, let me go to the another, I have another application inside telemetry. So if you go ahead and into the performance tab, I did some operation like 3-4 days back. So let me check for the last 7 days. So application insight can track data up to 90 days in the performance tab, but in the logs tab you can query as long as you want. So if your organization is trying to keep the data for longer time, then you can track it as long as you want. That depends on your organization, how they have set it up. So if you see, let me check. Yeah. So there are get weather forecast call I have made. Check. Yeah. So if you see, I showed you that my one of the web API is calling another web API. So the other API was not running, so that's why it was sending me some exception. So if you see this App Insight is now tracking both the requests. This is my incoming request. This is my outgoing request. So now both the requests are getting tracked, even if my second application doesn't have any App Insight, but still it is tracking the other application's URL, whether it is getting succeeded or whether it is getting timed out or whatever the exception it is giving me, it is tracking it. So similarly, if I have a SQL Server call, it will also track it. So if you want to do some modification, you can do it. Do some modification over here. Like you initialize your telemetry initializer, and whatever modification if you want to do to any of your telemetry, you just do it. I was doing it to inject one of the correlation ID to because when application insight generates a telemetry, it has its own correlation ID. So it creates a correlation ID by its own. I was trying to inject one of the correlation ID to my application insight telemetry. So this is more overall less about application insight. You can do a lot of things as Bipin went through, like you can integrate the logic apps, you can integrate a lot of things into it. So you can explore more about from the Microsoft website. They have a very good documentation, but this is very easy to integrate. You just put it into your app setting, into the instrumentation, and put the instrumentation key, and just in the startup you just integrate the application insight telemetry. So that's overall about App Insight. Next we will go ahead and check the CDN thing. So let me go ahead and so what we will do in case of our CDN, we will have a web application deployed in our web app, Azure web app. Then we will be streaming some of the video from the CDN in our web application. Anyway, I'm not going to develop the web application here. I will be pulling it from a Docker storage, Docker registry. So I think we have gone through the Docker pretty well in the before session, what is a Docker and how it works, how the containerization works. I'm not going to go through all these things right now. I will be just creating I will be pulling the Docker image from the Docker registry, and I will be putting it into the Azure web app. Then we will be configure CDN, and then we will integrate that CDN with our application. So let's go ahead and check like how we can do that. So what we will do, we will create a resource group called, let's say, Cdn demo. Then we will be Cdn demo AZ-204. We'll be naming it like that. Okay. So our resource group is created. So then what we will do, we will go ahead and create a web app. Let's go ahead and do a create resource and we will search for web app. So if we'll go ahead and create this web app, we will name it as, and we will keep it from the CDN demo, and we will name it as landing page. Landing page AZ-204. Okay. So instead of publish code, we will make it as a Docker container. And here in the in this Linux plan, the app service plan, which we have taken it as a Linux plan, we will name it something called marketing plan. Also, yeah, we will name it as a marketing plan. Okay. So instead of premium, I will go ahead because premium is very costly. I will go ahead and you can, for the production, mostly we can take premium, but as I am doing a dev or test, I'm just taking it the dev or test one. So we'll go ahead and we'll check. Then we'll go ahead to the Docker tab. So inside the Docker tab, what we will do, we will be pulling the image from the Microsoft Learning Docker registry. So what we will do, we will put the name like this. Image source Docker Hub, and access type is public, and we will put the image tag like this. So now we will go ahead and do review create. So let's go ahead and create it. So till the time it gets created, what we will do, we will check whether CDN is enabled in our Azure portal. By default, it is not enabled. So what you need to do, we need to check if it is enabled or not. So I would request everyone, whenever you are trying to do it for the first time, you need to check whether your CDN is enabled or not. So let me just open the Cloud Shell. Just go ahead and open the Cloud Shell, then we will check whether our CDN is enabled or not. So here you just query like AZ provider, then get the list. So, okay, so it gives us the list. Then we need to just put the query hyphen query, and inside this one we will be just selecting the namespaces instead of querying the whole provider. We will just query the namespaces. Yeah. So here the CDN is it is not showing up. So what we will go ahead and do, we will register the CDN. So into namespace hyphen namespace Microsoft .cd. So this is where I'm trying to register my Microsoft.cdn namespace into my clouds, into my Azure. So I will go ahead and do it. Register is misspelled or. Oh, sorry. I need to do AG provider register. Sorry. You need to do AG provider register hyphen namespace Microsoft.cdn. So this is I already registered my Microsoft CDN into my Azure group. So this is done. Now we will go ahead and I think our application is deployed. So let's go ahead and check. Yeah, so our landing page AZ-204 is deployed. So if I will browse it, it will not work because it is expecting some CDNs to be downloaded. It is querying from the CDN, so this application won't work right now. So I just tried to show you that this application is deployed, but it won't work because it is trying to fetch the resources from the CDN. So it is not available in the CDN. So it will not work currently. So now you have to go ahead and configure the CDNs. So here, let's go ahead and in the create resource, just type out CDN. So we will go ahead and create it. So what we will do, we will name it as something called, we'll take the resource group CDN demo AZ-204 and let's name it as content delivery network. And pricing tier, we will take it as Bipin mentioned, we have different providers like Verizon, Akamai, Premium Verizon, Microsoft. Like people who are from India, if you might have used Hotstar, which uses, I think, the Akamai CDN to stream the services. So that's a very good story about Hotstar, how they scale the application. They have very good blogs about how they scale the application with Kubernetes and the CDNs for the streaming services of high-profile cricket matches or the IPL matches, where they scale up to they can provide the streaming services up to 50 million people. So that's a very good story about how they uses the CDN, and their architecture is really good. If any of you have time, sometime read it. It's really nice articles provided by those their developers. So I am going to take standard Microsoft. So you need to ensure that this create new CDN endpoint is not checked. So let's go ahead and create it. Yeah. Okay, the CDN is being created now. So like the deployment is in progress. Let's wait for it. It will not take much time. Yeah, prior to that, I think we need a storage account also. So let me go ahead and create a storage account here. Let's name it as something called, we will take it from the CDN demo AZ-204. We will put it into that resource group because we will be putting our videos or medias into the storage account blob. So for that, we need to just create, let's name it as content post AZ-204. Let's check if. So we'll be go ahead and creating it, review and create it. Let it be deployed because we need to create some of the blobs over inside our storage account. So let's go ahead and do that. it is getting deployed. So let me go ahead and check. Yeah, so that is done. So we will go ahead and do the container, and what we will name it as media. So let's make it blob and let's create it. And another thing, let's take it as video, and then we'll take it as a blob. Sorry. So these are the two containers or the blobs I have created. Now we will go ahead and do the CDN profiles. So let's go ahead and where is our yes. So this is our content delivery network. So here in the endpoint, we need to add the endpoints for our content CDN profile. So we need to add the endpoint over here. Let's name it as CDN media. Okay, CDN media is taken. So let's CDN media AZ-204. Okay, and from the originator host name, we can do it as a storage, and we can take it as content host AZ-204, the storage account which we take. So inside this, we will take the media from the media blob. You need to give the blob or the container from which it will be taking the data. So this is my media path. I have added it, and let's create another one for the video. Sorry, we will put it as CDN video AZ-204. And originator type this one, and we will take AZ-204 class video. Okay, so we have just added two endpoints to our CDN delivery network. And we'll also we need a CDN delivery network for our website. As Bipin mentioned that CDN is nothing but which will be a provider for your static data. Let's say our website, the HTML, CSS is our homepage will not be going to change for any of the users. It will be remaining same. So you can consider it as a static page. Though the contents are dynamic, but the HTML page will remain same for all the users across the region. So that's why we can take our home landing page as a static page, and we can serve this from the CDN. Like the ways if we have a video which we need to, let's say an education video which we had put it, so the education video will remain same for each and every student of a class. So we can put that into a CDN. So that's a static video. It is not going to change based on a user. It can be changed, but it will remain same for a particular group of users. So what we will do, we will create another page, or another endpoint in our CDN. We will name it as CDN web AZ-204. And we can say the originator type is web app, and we can give it as landing page AZ-204. And we don't need anything over in the path. So let's add it. Now what we will do, we will put some data into our blob. So let's go ahead into what I will do. I will go ahead to the blob, and I will put some upload some media into this one. So I have a picture, let's say something called poster. So I will put it over here. I will upload it here. And I will go ahead and I will put a video as well. So let's go ahead and upload a video called welcome.mp4. So I just put it over here. I uploaded this one. This will take a little bit of time because it's a 10 MB. Yeah, it's done. So we have uploaded the videos and media into this one. Now we have to configure our website or the web app. What we can do, we just need to go to the landing page and we need to go to the configuration, because our web app is not till now not mapped with the CDN profile. So what we can do in the application settings, we need to put the application name is CDN Media. And let me open the, I forgot to. Where is my, yeah, this one. Let's go to the blog, and from the media, we just need to take the URI, sorry, properties. So we need just this one over there, and we need to put it over here. So my media storage account endpoint is this one. Okay. Then we need to add for the video as well. So let's add for the again. CDN video, we can say endpoint. Sorry. Point. And the view, we can take the value from here. Go to properties and just copy it. We will put it over. So we have configured the CDN media and video endpoint over here. Now we need to save this one. Let's go ahead and save it. And once we save it, we need to restart our landing page web app. So let's go ahead and restart it. It will take a bit of time. So now if I will browse it, still I will be when it was saying that your configuration setting is missing and you are required to add the following application setting. So earlier it was not working because I didn't add this one. So now this is the page which is showing it. If I go to the landing page, it is just taking the values from the configuration, and it is this is the published image which I just put it. And if I play the video, so this is the video. It is playing from the storage account. Now let's go ahead and check if it can be it can be played from the CDN account as well. So what we will do, we'll go to let's go to our CDN. Yeah. So this is the CDN, and if we will, let me check the specified resources now. Oh. Okay. Let me check why it is not. It should be accessible. Okay, let me check if from the blog if I'm able to access. Oh, we need to provide. Okay, let me check why it is not. Let me go to the blog. Yeah, I think it's here. If I go to the properties, okay, I forgot to add the /media over here. Yes, then we have publish.jpg. Oh, sorry, this is poster.jpg. I was trying the wrong name. Yeah, this is available. So let's go ahead and check the blog, sorry, the CDN, and let's try poster.jpg. Yeah. So now from the CDN also I can access the data because the CDN is caching the data. So it is referring the data from the storage account. So I am now able to get it from the CDN as well. Similar for the, let me go ahead and check for the video. So this is class welcome.mp4. Yeah, so this is getting the video from the CDN video endpoint as well. So now what we will go ahead and do, we will check our CDN demo. The other endpoint we saw, the CDN web. Yeah, so this now see this is running from the CDN website as well. So we saw it it is running from the actual website also, and it is trying to get the cache data from the CDN also. So this is how your CDN is configured. So you need to keep these things in your mind. You need to enable the CDN in your Azure. If it is not there, then you need to add it into, you need to add your endpoints and refer it from whether you want to cast the web app or whether you want to cast your any media. You refer it to the storage account. We have a lot of options available when you go to the content delivery network. It gives you a lot of options. You go to the endpoint, you set the origin, what type of origins you want to provide. So then you can give the path or whichever way you want. So this is the overall idea how you can configure your CDNs with taking. I just took storage account configuration and mapped it into the CDN, and I uploaded the data into the storage blob. Then I cached it. I used the CDN to serve the data. So this is overall idea behind the CDN and the App Insight. So I think I'm done with the end-to-end demo for the App Insight and the CDN. If you have any question, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn, or you can reach out in our Telegram group. I think many users are there who can help you out. So I think that's it from my side. Thank you, Asis, for providing this awesome platform. to share the my learning path into the group. Thank you, Bipin, as well. Yeah.
Thanks, thanks, Sanjeev. Thanks, everyone. So let's go ahead and continue the next part, which is the quiz. So let me share my screen, and in the meanwhile, thank you so much for this awesome demo, Sanjeev. Okay, so let me share my screen. So, all right. So right now, we have this quiz, as we have said. The winner of this quiz, the 6 lucky winners will be getting free Azure exam voucher, and the URL for the quiz is q.azurez.com/az204, and the winners will be announced on 8th of August. So we are opening this quiz now, and you have exactly 10 minutes from now. After 10 minutes, this link will be disabled, so you won't be able to fill. And if you have already filled this link, because this is a common link and we forgot to disable it today, we have removed the previous entries. So you need to fill it again if you have already filled the today's quiz. We just noticed that some of the participants had already submitted that. So we're just confirming that you need to submit it again because that has been deleted. Next time we will disable this link before before opening the quiz. Okay, and in the meanwhile, you can once you will complete the quiz, you can also go there and participate in this LinkedIn. Go to the LinkedIn and then participate in this Azure skill demonstration on LinkedIn, where Microsoft is giving away Surface Go laptop on periodic basis for lucky winners. So that is the additional thing from Microsoft. And yeah, oops. Okay, so yeah, please go ahead, and I'm going to post the link URL over here as well. Just give me a moment. So I'm posting the URL in the chat. Right. So yeah, we have 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, we will disable this link. Please go ahead and access the link, fill in the URL, fill in the questions, answers, and then we will be having, after this quiz, we will be announcing the winner of the previous session. So in previous sessions, we also had the similar kind of quiz where, many people had participated. We took some name, we will be taking some name from there, entirely based on random names. And you need to, they will be getting the vouchers as well as one book for one person, and then 6 vouchers for 6 different people. Just to make sure you are also registered on this azurez.com/az204 on Eventbrite, because we will be selecting the people who are available, whose emails are available in the quiz as well as on the Eventbrite. So you have to have the email address both the places. Then only your name will appear in the winners lottery system that we are going to do for the previous session just after this quiz. Okay, so I'm just waiting. Let me disable this Q&A. So far, we have few responses here. And make sure you enter the email address in the quiz. We are asking for email address. Please make sure you enter the email address that you normally kind of check, because in past we have got few winners where we contacted them, we got no reply, so we have not sent the prizes to them. For example, books. For books, I will be contacting you on the email address that you provide in the quiz and on the Eventbrite for getting your address if it is in India, or confirming your email address to send it through Kindle if you are outside India. So for outside India, we are not giving the print copy, but for India, I will be able to send you the print copy. But for that, I'll be contacting you first and will be confirming your address. So make sure you enter the email address correctly. Okay, so.
So this link is active for next 5 more minutes from now.
Yeah.
So be quick to appear for the today's quiz.
We still have very few responses.
We encourage all the people who have a plan to prepare for the exam in upcoming days. They have a good opportunity to prepare for such kind of quiz, and they can win a free exam voucher, and they can utilize for those things without spending any money. They can appear for the Microsoft exam. So it's a good opportunity for all those people, and you should utilize that.
Yep.
Good.
For all the sessions, we have been distributing the vouchers, and in addition to vouchers, of course, we are covering the sessions which covers almost all the topic that you are going to expect in the exam. So, and also it's not just AZ-204. We have done the similar kind of tracks for AZ-900, which is fundamental, then AZ-104, which is administrator, then AZ-400, which is for Azure DevOps, and now this is AZ-204. And in future, we are planning to host sessions for other topics as well, such as architecture or migrations and other things. So, in addition to these learnings, you can utilize these vouchers to give the exams, to certify yourself, and demonstrate those skills on LinkedIn and places where these skills are really hot right now in the market. Okay, so we have a few responses here.
We have 2 more minutes. We have 2 more minutes from now.
Okay. And then after that, we are going to announce the winner for the last session. And one more thing, if you're still not part of our Azure group, we will recommend you to join our group, because that's the place where you can find all the people, including us. We are like, more than 10,000, members over there who help each other to learn Azure in all the topics. So I've just posted the AzureTalk group link over there in the chat. So you can join if you're not already a member of the group. You can post your questions. We will try to answer your questions, or other members are also there who can answer your questions, or you can also share your feedback about the trainings that we are doing, or if you have some questions or if you have some recommendation, you can always post your message over there. I think how much time we are left with, Vipin?
So this is the last minute now. So
okay,
we have 60 seconds from now.
All right. So for you guys, you still have any responses?
Be quick. I can see the people are trying to appear this quiz. Okay. Encouraging all those people. Good to see that counts are increasing, getting more and more responses. This is the last minutes, and this link can be disabled very quickly in few more seconds from now. Okay, thanks everyone. All those who prepare for this quest for today, this link is disabled for today's now. Ashish, you can carry on.
Okay, yeah, thanks. Thanks, Vipin. Okay, so now we will go for the next part, which is, announcing the winner for the last session, for the previous session. Let me share, my screen for the winner. Just okay. So now I'm moving the. So here we have this fields of names where I'm going to post the names. So these are the previous session names. I'm going to remove them and I'm going to put here new names. These are the people who participated in the previous session, and just like you did for today's session, and similar kind of thing we are going to do in the next session for all the names that have been submitted for the today's quiz. So we have selected those who has the email address in the Eventbrite as well as over here. Now let me go ahead and run this thing for the first winner, and the first winner is. Okay, so the first winner is Bhanu Krishna. And paste it over here in my data, right? So I'm going to remove this name now. Now the next name will be for the next voucher. So this is all right, Indrajit, congratulations. So the second name is Indrajit. So here. Now the next name is Dushyant Patel. Congratulations, Dushyant. Okay. I'm going to remove this name now. Oops. That's Sachin Agrawal. So this will be the fourth one. And Srihari, congratulations. This is the fifth one. The next will be the last for the Azure voucher. Okay, Vijaya, congratulations, Vijaya. So you have got the voucher now. Now the last name for one book copy. Let's see who is the lucky winner for the book. This is Anandi. We'll contact you on the email address that you have provided with us in the quiz, and I will contact you for the address. If it is in India, then possibly we will be able to send you the print copy, or we'll be give you the Kindle version of my book. Okay, so these are the names. Let me minimize this and share the slide again just for the final thing, and we are done. Okay. So this is the final slide. Possibly we will just take another 2 minutes to thanks everyone to join the session today. All the participants, all the speakers, everyone. If you want to connect with us, the best place to find us is on our, the Telegram group that you can find over here. This is our Telegram group, t.me/AzureTalk.AzureTalk. You can register for the upcoming. There are 2 more sessions left. We will be having sessions on serverless and API management. That is again the next module in the AZ-204. So if you have not yet registered for the session, please go ahead and register on this URL. We have this DevOps group where we discuss DevOps related topic. Apart from our Azure Talk group, you can join us there. All the previous sessions are hosted on our YouTube channel, that is youtube.com/AzureTalk. You can go there, watch all the previous sessions for AZ-204 or all other sessions like AZ Fundamental, that is 900, 104 Administrator, or AZ-400, that is for DevOps Engineer. You can contact Vipin on his LinkedIn ID, or Sanjeev on his LinkedIn ID, or myself on my LinkedIn ID, or you can connect with my YouTube channel, as well as you can find my website as well. So this is pretty much what we are, and you can contact us. You can share your feedback. If these sessions are helpful, please share your feedback. If you want us to improve on certain specific content, please share your feedback. We will try our best to make that happen, and we will soon come up with some new topics, some new certification help, which can help you to certify yourself in this most hot skill in the market today. With that, I would like to thank Vipin, Sanjeev for taking the session today, and let's connect again. We'll be again connecting with you guys on on the next session, which you can find the detail on our Eventbrite page by accessing this URL azurez.com/az204. Please register for the session. You get the the training material, you get the Azure exam voucher. What else we can do for you, right? Okay, thank you. Have a good day. Have a good night. Thanks everyone for joining us again. Thank you.